All right, everybody, welcome. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. It is Friday. That means it's Football Friday, year two of the Fantasy Sports Boss YouTube channel. So this is year two, second year doing this. The Football Friday, every Friday from now through the end of the season, we will have a live stream. I didn't post this in advance. That's why, again, make sure that you have that notification bell clicked so that way you know whenever we go live. I do a lot of impromptu streams at times, in addition to the scheduled ones, but also hit the subscribe button if you're new. And, last season was a big success. At least I was very happy with it. My first year doing this online after strictly being a blog for, 10 plus years. Grew very quickly and, right off the bat initially. And then, the Sunday instant analysis injury videos really made the channel what it was. And that's going to be the strong point again of the channel this season. But, the live streams on Fridays, live streams Sunday night to review all the action, instant injury updates during the week as well. All of this stuff is part of the deal. So make sure that you are subscribed. As far as today was concerned, I wanted to tie up some odds and ends on things. Of course, the videos, I've been churning out the videos, as often as I can, as quickly as I can. But I wanted to discuss the quote unquote my guys when it comes to 2023 fantasy football. Now, last season I had two leagues. I won one of them. And in the other, I did make the playoffs, but I was knocked out in the semifinals. So overall, it was a successful season. I stuck with my strategies that I use every year, with avoiding running backs that are older than 26, avoiding receivers that are 30 or older, going in on dual threat quarterbacks, avoiding those quarterbacks who don't run. So, that's what I'm going to go back to again this year because it served me very well last season. And also, guys, don't forget, if you haven't picked up my 2023 fantasy football draft guide, and I have to admit, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but breaking records for sales this year. So I'm very pleased about it. I'm very proud of it. Every single word in that book, and it is in book form. It's not a magazine. I always say that because I don't want people to think, oh, it's not a magazine. No, it's a book. All right. I do it in book form, breaking all records for me personally. I've been doing the draft guide for over 10 years. This is the best year I've ever had. I probably owe a lot of that to the channel. So make sure you go to Amazon. I believe Barnes & Noble has it as well. You can pick up the draft guide there, or you could just get the PDF version using things like $5 cheaper if you use the link on the homepage of the channel. I could just email it to you right away from there. But let's go Jets. Really like Super Bowl future pick. Yeah, Zamora, I'm trying. I'm not buying into the hype just yet because this is the New York Jets and something invariably will go wrong. And already Aaron Rodgers is dealing with a calf injury his first day at minicamp. So, when you're the New York Jets, you expect the worst. And, until proven otherwise. And honestly, and I have to say, and I said this last year, you guys have me on record all last season saying this is a Super Bowl caliber team with the exception of quarterback. You have the offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, great players on defense, a defensive line, Keenan Williams. You have Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, two studs on offense. Great draft by the leadership of the Jets last season. I've said over and over again, this is a Super Bowl team. They just needed a quarterback. Now they have a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. That being said, yes, you could put them in that small group of teams that can win a Super Bowl this season, but I still think they're a tier below Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City. That's the big three in the AFC. I think the Jets are still below those three, but the Jets definitely have a shot to be a big time player this season, as long as Rodgers can stay healthy. So, we just got to see what's happening there. Javier, how are you, Javier? Watching from work. All right. Well, don't get in trouble that you're watching from work, but yeah, it seems like there's a lot of Jet fans in here. And listen, like I said, I am a huge fan of Garrett Wilson. I'm a huge fan of Breece Hall, and I'm a Giants fan. I have a Giants shirt on, but I got to be fair. The Jets look legit. And as long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, they're going to be going places. And there's a lot of fantasy friendly players, high-end fantasy friendly players on this team. So it's like I said, I wanted to make sure I touched on the guys that I'm going to target. And somebody asked me the other day to do a top 100. I'm going to do that. I'm going to post that on the community board. So look for that. probably going to take me a little while to get that done, but I did want to touch on the my guys, because when I do put out the top 100 list, I'm going to have Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to have Austin Eckler in the top 5. It just goes without saying, but I'm not drafting those two guys. Okay. And anybody that's new, probably, what is this guy talking about? Like, how do you not draft Christian McCaffrey? How do you not draft Austin Eckler? I am that firm believer where you get out a year early on a guy, and you stick with the historical trends, i.e. avoiding backs older than 26, backs with a lot of wear and tear, as Eckler and McCaffrey have had, Eckler especially the last couple of years. So, it's going to be, I stay true to those principles no matter what. And that's what I'm going to do again this season. And that's why the guys I'm going to tell you are my guys. I'm not going to probably include a lot of the obvious picks. All right, where do I sit on Bijan Robinson? Well, Javier, if you've heard me, I have had nothing but effusive praise for Bijan Robinson. I watched every single game he played in college, and I have to tell you, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, he might be the greatest running back prospect I've ever seen, and that includes Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley came out like gangbusters. I mean, he was a fantasy MVP his rookie year. I think Bijan Robinson could be that guy this season. He's that good. And I always have caution when it comes to rookie running backs. We've been burned by Ryan Matthews. We've been burned by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kerryon Johnson, Detroit. A lot of these guys never, they get a lot of hype coming out, but I am totally in on Bijan Robinson. He is the only back I would take in round 1. That's the only guy, because I want either Kelce or a receiver in round 1. I've been very consistent with that. Bijan Robinson will make me think twice about that. Like, if I'm looking at Bijan Robinson and Jamar Chase with the 3rd pick or whatever, I'm going to be tempted to take Robinson. I probably won't, but I'm going to be tempted. But yeah, Travis Kelce, for sure. That's the guy I want. There's no reason to rehash this again. He's the true unicorn. And don't forget, they lost Hardman. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster. He's going to have 100 catches. He's going to have a ridiculous amount of yards and touchdowns. There's no doubt about it. Alexander wants to know, if I can get Kelce round 1, should I go for Mahomes round 2 for the stack? I talked about this. I'm not opposed to it. I'm fine with it. Listen, you could get Miles Sanders in round 3, and have a very, impactful running back, low-end running back 1. Miles Sanders is going in round 3. So if you could get a stack of Mahomes and Kelce, yeah, great. The only problem with the stack, though, is that when you run into the bye week, you're in big trouble. When your top 2 guys are on the same bye week, you're almost surrendering that week, and I hate doing that. And also, if Mahomes gets hurt, Kelce gets screwed because he doesn't have Mahomes throwing to him, and then Mahomes is hurt. So you got to be careful with the stacks. I like it. I don't love it, Alexander. I try to stay away from the stacks as much as I can, but it is tempting. I get it. But for all the reasons I mentioned, I'm a little leery about that. But yeah, so I'll reserve judgment on that. Now, in terms of my guys, and I've kind of talked about this in some of the other videos I posted. I'm going to start with the quarterbacks. Now, it's all about the dual threat guys. I don't want a guy who doesn't run. So Aaron Rodgers, I'm sorry you're not playing for me. You're not going to be on my team. Jared Goff, you had a nice comeback season last season. You're not going to be on my team. Even, Dak Prescott, his days are running. I was a big fan of his in the past. I'm done with him. Even Justin Herbert, he runs just enough that I still would consider Justin Herbert. And his price is going to come down quite a bit this season. But I'm a little bit leery about Justin Herbert. Excuse me. But as far as the quarterbacks that I'm likely going to end up with. So Josh Allen, would I love to have him? Yes, absolutely. I love Josh Allen. I had him a couple of years ago, and it was great. It's always fun owning Josh Allen. You keep hearing the talk he's going to run less this season. That could happen finally. I love Pat Mahomes, but you're going to need a second-round pick to get those guys. Definitely Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts. And I don't want Jalen Hurts because of the injury factor, and he's a smaller quarterback. So I'm most likely not ending up on any of those guys because, again, I want to start receiver. I want to get receiver, tight end, running back. I'll get all that squared away. I've always come back to the following guys: Lamar Jackson, who I have fourth overall among quarterbacks. And some people say, oh, Joe Burrow should be ahead of him. I was debating with a guy the other day. He had him at number 8, which I think is a little low. Big fan of Jackson. I love the change in offensive coordinator. They're going to be throwing the football more than he probably ever has. They brought in Odell Beckham Jr. They brought in Zay Flowers, who looks like Tyreek Hill to me. There's a guy to really keep an eye on. Zay Flowers is a rookie receiver. They have Mark Andrews, who's going to have now single coverage. It's all set up for Jackson to have a monster comeback season. And, I had him last year. I double drafted him. I had him in both of my leagues. I also had Justin Fields as my backup in both of those leagues. So overall, it worked out pretty damn good. And that's why I was able, to win one league and make the semis in the other. But losing Jackson, it hurt. And even when he was on the field, he didn't play well. But I'm going right back to the well on him. I'm curious to see where the price is going to end up, because there are a lot of people that have now sworn off of Jackson because of the injury issue. They think he's just not a good pure passer, and I get that, but I'm back. I'm totally back in on him for sure. So Lamar Jackson is absolutely on my list for a my guy quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is next. All right. You all know I love Trevor Lawrence. That offense is scary. You have Calvin Ridley and Ace Whiteout joining Christian Kirk, who's a top wide receiver too. You have Zay Jones, who did a fantastic job as a complimentary piece last season. You have Evan Engram, while he's not happy about his contract, he's going to be back, and he was a top 5 tight end last season. So you have 3 guys, not to mention Travis Etienne out of the backfield. The numbers are going to be silly. Lawrence is coming. He had a tremendous second half of last season. Come back for the ages in the playoffs. I want Lamar Jackson everywhere. That's the guy I'm probably going. And I've been doing a lot of mock drafts. I've ended up with Jackson probably 8 out of every 10 mocks that I've done. All right. And Jackson has been probably the other 2. So absolutely, Trevor Lawrence is my guy at quarterback. The third one is Deshaun Watson. I'm going to have to sell this one for sure. Listen, he was pretty bad when he came back last season. But at the same time, he hadn't played in over a year. A lot of distractions too. I mean, let's face it, he gets ripped wherever he goes, even in his own locale there in Cleveland. But I also have a memory of Deshaun Watson, who is a top 3, top 4 fantasy quarterback who led the league in passing yardage with the Texans, who ran liberally and can be that dual threat guy. And the best part is Deshaun Watson, his price tag is almost dirt cheap. And he can finish as a top 5-6 quarterback and be drafted as like QB8, QB9, QB10. All right. So, most people have Watson in that, 6, 7. I wouldn't even say that. I would say more like 8 to 12 range. But I am back in on him for sure. And now I'm prefacing all this by this is a single quarterback league. All right. Geno Smith. Listen, it's been comical how bad he's been in the past with the Jets. The whole fiasco when he was with the Jets. But he was legit. He balled out last season. And he's got now 3 stud receivers after they drafted the Ohio State kid. Jackson Smith joining Tyler Lockett, joining DK Metcalf, 2 top wide receiver 2s, low-end wide receiver 1 in terms of Metcalf. They're going to throw the ball. And they even brought in the kid from UCLA, Charbonnet, who can really catch the ball out of the backfield. And I've said this a million times. If you're leery about Deshaun Watson, but you love the upside like I do, draft him and Geno Smith, and you just flip-flop them, depending on the matchup. You stack those 2 together, you have a winning combination. Geno Smith and Deshaun Watson, 100%. So those 2 guys are absolutely on my list as well. Now, Justin Herbert, I talked about Justin Herbert. Excuse me. Justin Herbert represents a nice buying opportunity as well. I mean, he was pretty bad last season. He was god-awful in the fantasy playoffs. I mean, Justin Herbert ruined so many teams in the playoffs last season. It was ridiculous. But the guy's got a lot of ability. He was drafted as a top 5 quarterback last season. He's got those skills. They brought in Quentin Johnston now to join Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. There's a lot of talent on this roster. They still have Austin Eckler. And listen, if the price is right, I will draft Justin Herbert. If he slips to let's say the 5th round, I would take him there. Even in the 4th round, I think he probably will make the 4th round. I see Allen going in round 2. I see Mahomes in that round 2-3 border. Justin Fields is getting a lot of hype. I think Justin Fields is going to go in round 3. Joe Burrow is probably going to go in round 3 as well. So I think Herbert could slip down a little bit. So I will put him on the list as well because I will take Herbert if the price is right. So it's really those 5 guys: Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, Justin Herbert. Those are the 5 starters that I would be looking to have on all my teams. Now, backups. I'm fine with Daniel Jones as a backup. I mean, listen, the offense, Brian Daboll's offense is great. It's very quarterback friendly. They brought in a bunch of receivers, really a bunch of wide receiver 2s and 3s, but they also brought in Darren Waller, who is, a wide receiver 1 in a tight end's body. So I'd be fine with Jones as a backup. No issue there. You know what? Heck, I would even consider Kyler Murray and just stash him on the bench. Why not? At the very least, you have top insurance for when he comes back, probably in October. So, if you draft, Trevor Lawrence, and then you wind up taking a Kyler Murray as insurance as backup, I'm fine with that too. So I wouldn't discount that as well. And then Anthony Richardson. Listen, I know I've been hard on Anthony Richardson, very raw, accuracy issues for sure. But in single quarterback leagues, draft him as a backup. It's not going to hurt you, but the upside is immense. I think his price is going to be too high to justify that. That's where I think we're going with this, especially after Justin Fields, what he did last year. And that's the perfect comparison. He's not Cam Newton. I've heard that comparison. No, he's more Justin Fields. Accuracy problems, but a hell of an athlete, top-tier runner, going to put up 1,000,000 yards on the ground. So if I can get Anthony Richardson as a backup, I'm fine with that. And, Justin Fields, I drafted him in both leagues last year, but his price is going to be too high this year. So I'm not going to end up with Fields. There's a lot of injury risk with Justin Fields, too. And if he's not running, as he did not do in the fantasy playoffs last year, he's going to hurt you big time. All right? Zamora said, Watson was my last pick last year to help me win. Yeah, he had that good game. The ability is there, guys. Deshaun Watson, I believe he's 27 years old. I mean, come on. He's really just entering his prime now as a quarterback. So he's grossly underrated. All right. Very high on Burrow and Fields. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm high on both of them too. No doubt. But Gabe, I'm not going to pay the 4th round price. I'm just really 3rd, 4th round price. I think they're going to go in the 3rd round, both of those guys. Maybe the latter part of the 3rd round. I'm not going to use that on those two. And that's the only reason why I'm not drafting them. I think Tyreek could slip into round 2. Yeah, he's right there on the border. So at the end of round 1, you have Stephon Diggs. The Devontae Adams believers are still going to be looking at him in the beginning of round 2. Tyreek Hill, I think, is probably going to be like pick 10, 11, 12. He's going to be in there. Maybe he slips to the beginning of round 2. But I tell you what, I'm nervous. You're 1-2 with Tagovailoa injury away from disaster, and you cannot count on him. Talking about Tagovailoa. So I would be very careful with Tyreek Hill. As a matter of fact, Jalen Waddle's a better value. He's the better value because he's cheaper. He's going to come a couple of rounds cheaper. Same thing with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's going to be drafted ahead of Devontae Smith, but Devontae Smith could be the more productive of the two. He certainly was the second half of last season. Would you do a running back like Najee and Stevenson? Najee, no. Stevenson, yes. And Stevenson's not going to make round 4. I think both of those guys are late 2nd round, early 3rd round picks. I love Stevenson. Not a Najee fan. I know he's going to get the workload, but he is as boring a runner as it gets. Very mediocre average. The outlier receiving total he had as a rookie was solely because Ben Roethlisberger was toast. That's it. So those numbers are never coming back in terms of Najee's receiving. All right, so those are the quarterbacks, guys. Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, Justin Herbert, my starters. Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray, and Anthony Richardson is my backups. All right, so that's my quarterbacks. All right, now let's get to those running backs because now I'm getting questions on the running backs. Who would you take in the 4th round? So, Gabe, I did this video if you want to go back and watch. Just to answer your question, I think in the 4th round, Miles Sanders could be there. He's dropping further than I anticipated, so I'm very surprised to see that. I would take Alexander Mattison in the 4th round. I think he's good value there. Dameon Pierce, I like. Cam Akers, certainly they're talking him up again, but you got to be careful. They did that last season. Look what happened. But in terms of my guys at running back, Bijan Robinson's right at the top. All right, so I'm going to write him down. Bijan Robinson, 1st round pick. He's the only running back I would use a 1st round pick on. Talking about Bijan Robinson. All right. Not taking McCaffrey, not taking Taylor, definitely not taking Taylor. I used the 1st pick on him last season, and look how that turned out, even though I wound up winning that league. I'm not taking Eckler. I'm not taking Saquon. I do like Saquon. If he's as a Giant fan, I'd be tempted to take Saquon if he made it to the end of the 1st round, but he won't. And he's going to sign a new deal. They're going to take care of that contract. I'm not taking Nick Chubb because he doesn't catch passes. So those are your top 6 backs on consensus. Out of those top 6, Bijan Robinson is the only one I would take in the 1st round. And is the only one I really would take, period, unless these guys drop. All right, so moving past that, Josh Jacobs is making it to the 2nd round in drafts. I would consider him in round 2. So if I took a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase, let's be more realistic. I think Jacobs will go early round 2. So then if I take a Stephon Diggs at the end of round 1, then I'm good with taking Josh Jacobs in the beginning of round 2. I think Jacobs is still young. He's 25. He's coming off a great season. Targets galore. You thought that the Raiders were really running him into the ground and then letting him go, but he's back on the franchise tag. So I would take Jacobs in the 2nd round. Okay. Derrick Henry, you all know how I feel about that. Listen, if you draft Derrick Henry, as I said in that one video I did, you're doing it all wrong. You can't keep going back to the well on name brand guys who are past their point of no return, and that's where Henry is. All right. Kenneth Walker is being overdrafted. All right. They brought in the kid from UCLA who's going to play more than you think. He's going to play on 3rd down. He's a tremendous receiver. I was very high on him coming out. He's a very fantasy-friendly running back. All right. That's going to hurt Walker, who doesn't catch the ball. All right. And Walker runs upright as well, which leads to injury. And he got banged up the 2nd half of last season. So Kenneth Walker is an injury risk. So I'm not going to be in on Kenneth Walker. All right, Tony Pollard is going to be overdrafted to me. He's going at the end of round 1. I had him last year. He was great, but I'm not going to pay the sticker price on him unless he falls. So now we're going to get to my main guys, all right, because I'm going to look late 2nd if I'm in that spot, in 3rd round to start taking my backs. Travis Etienne, I love Travis Etienne, all right? Love Travis Etienne. I think, listen, here's the thing, guys. He averaged 5.1 a carry last season, and he caught 35 passes when he's capable of catching 60. Anybody that watched Travis Etienne in college, he was a dominant receiver. Criminal that the Jaguar staff didn't put the ball more in his hands in the passing game, and I think they're going to do that this year. I know that they worry about his durability, and I do too, but Etienne, I want Etienne on all my teams this year. I want everybody on the Jaguars. I want Kirk. I want Ridley. I want Etienne. I want Lawrence. I want Etienne. Etienne is that first guy now that I have ranked in that tier of when I'm most likely to take my backs. Rise Above Anything wants to know what's going on. What do you think about people fading Jacobs in the first 2 rounds of Devontae Adams? My league, they go running back heavy. I'm going to try to get receivers early. Don't go Devontae Adams. Listen, there's a lot of rumors right now that Carson Wentz is going to be signed. And that is bad news for Jimmy Garoppolo's foot and for Devontae Adams' prospects. Carson Wentz is garbage. He's absolute shit. He's worn out his welcome in multiple locations now. It's not looking good right now. And I think Devontae Adams realizes this, and that's why you're starting to hear some trade chatter. But I would not want Devontae Adams. He's 30 now. I think he's facing a cliff season at some point. He's not going to approach those numbers from last season. It's a declining stock, so I'm not going to Adams. I want Diggs over Devontae Adams. Let me just look at the receivers real quick while you ask me that. I would take Diggs over him. I would take Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's in that territory. I would take Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would take CeeDee Lamb easy over Davante Adams. I would take Garrett Wilson easy over Davante Adams. So there you go. I'm fading Davante Adams everywhere. Kadarius Toney, I like Sky Moore better. And in fact, I'm going to do a separate video on that. I do like Sky Moore better than Kadarius Toney. You were asking the wrong guy again, Giants fan. He was dog shit here. Terrible attitude. Always hurt. He's a gadget player. There's going to be no consistency. If he beats my projections, salute. But I'm chasing Sky Moore instead. Yeah, he does need to go to the XFL. Talking about Carson Wentz for sure. Carson Wentz. Wilson, Diggs, St. Brown, Lamb. Yeah, so that's a tough one to rank too, honestly, guys. How would you rank that? I should put that poll up. Wilson, Diggs, St. Brown, and Lamb. I'm happy with all of them. I probably would go Diggs first, then Lamb, then Wilson, then St. Brown. Diggs is still in his prime. Lamb obviously is in his prime, and they both have done it, whereas Wilson hasn't yet, even though I think the world of him. And then St. Brown is not going to be as he's not going to be as big of a touchdown guy. AJ Brown or CD. And like I said, I'm going to go Devontae Smith over AJ Brown. I like the value better there. All right. So anyway, so Travis Etienne, very big on Travis Etienne in that tier of guys that I'm going to take. All right. Breece Hall is on the list. I've put him now behind Ramondre Stevenson. Let me just say Stevenson. So Ramondre Stevenson, and no, Devontae Adams should not be in the first round. Ramondre Stevenson, I have right there with Etienne. I might even favor Stevenson over Etienne. If I had a gun to my head, I had to pick one. I would take Stevenson over him. But those two are neck and neck for me. And then I have Breece Hall behind them. Dameon Pierce I have in this grouping. And then who's Miles Sanders. Yes, Miles Sanders. So those are the five. Those are my big five. All right. Etienne, Stevenson, Hall, Pierce, Sanders. And then there's a gap. And then you know what? I'm intrigued. I'm a little bit intrigued by Cam Akers, who I faded last year. He played well down the stretch last season. I'm intrigued by him. I'm not going to outwardly seek him. And then Alexander Mattison is interesting to me in that he'll be the guy. But Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm all in on Jahmyr Gibbs. And I'm adding him to that group above. So Jahmyr Gibbs, Miles Sanders, Dameon Pierce, Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Etienne. Let's say if I can get Stevenson and then Gibbs, I'm sitting. I'm a pig in shit. All right. If I can get Stevenson in round 3 and Gibbs in round 4, which I don't think it would break down that way, but I'm good with that. Love it. Rachaad White is another one. So let's say I take Stevenson or Etienne in round 3, and then I take Rachaad White in like round 5. In a PPR league, that's pretty good. All right. So those are my guys. I'm fading Mixon, fading Connor. Brian Robinson, I would keep on the back burner. Same thing with Antonio Gibson. I really liked Antonio Gibson, but now there's chatter about Kareem Hunt. So I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. Dobbins, no, I'm out on. Obviously, I'm out on Cook. Pacheco doesn't catch the ball. Jamal Williams, I was asked about. So Jamal Williams, I don't want him. That touchdown total is an outlier. I don't want Alvin Kamara either. I think they're going to siphon numbers off of each other. So I don't want either one of those guys. Kamara is probably facing a suspension. Jamal Williams is a nice player, and he makes good around the goal line. Like if you want to use him as a flex, I'm fine with that, but that's about it. Pacheco doesn't catch the ball. I don't want him. J.K. Dobbins doesn't catch the ball. Bad attitude. Looking for a new contract. Always hurt. I don't want him. Lamar Jackson is going to keep the ball around the goal line as well. So I'm out on him. Penny. I'm out on Penny. I'm out on DeAndre Swift. Jalen Hurts is going to keep the ball around the goal line, so I'm out on him as well. They paid Montgomery. Yes, Gabe. But in a PPR league, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to catch a lot of passes. I think he's going to catch 60 passes. I really, truly believe that. Montgomery might get the touchdowns for sure. But, I think that Montgomery is not going to be I think Montgomery's going to take, the majority of goal line carries. Hold on, I just got to send a quick text. All right. Yeah, Khalil Herbert, I mean, he's shown flashes, but I don't know if he could be the every down guy. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Listen, I've been a big Aaron Jones fan, but I'm done with the timeshare. I can't do it anymore. Having Aaron Jones the last 2 seasons, and you see A.J. Dillon's in there all the time. It's like, come on, I can't do it anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. So those are the backs, guys. Those are the ones I like. All right. James Cook is mildly interesting to me too. But there's a timeshare there. I think I would take Charbonnet or Charbonnet. Write that down. Charbonnet, the kid from UCLA. I like him a lot. Yeah, that's about it. So to rehash for that, Etienne, Stevenson, Hall, Pierce, Sanders, Gibbs. Those are my running back ones. My running back twos, Akers, Madison, Jahmyr Gibbs, Rachaad White. Those are my running back twos. My running back threes, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. I would take one or the other. And Charbonnet, the rookie from UCLA. That's how I look at it for those two. All right, ESPN Fantasy, I started out with CMC, Diggs, and Ramondre Stevenson. Wow. So Diggs must have really fell. So I imagine you had top 2 pick. Diggs fell to the end of round 2. I don't see that really happening, though, in many drafts. But, yeah, I mean, listen, you can't start much better, any better than that. Cordell Patterson, no, he's got no value. Cordell Patterson has no value. Not at all. All right, wide receivers. I didn't really touch on receivers much yet. But, listen, round 1, I'm all about receivers. So, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, those 2 guys, I want them. Along with Travis Kelce, those are the 3 guys I want. More than anybody in round 1. Now, here's the riddle. Ready? What do we do with Cooper Kupp? Is there a more dangerous player in round 1 than Cooper Kupp? I mean, he's so goddamn tempting. It's just insane. The targets that the guy has had. 191 targets in 2021. 98 targets in only 9 games last season. It's insane what Cooper Kupp does. And Stafford it's like he just can't look anywhere else but Cooper Kupp. So, listen, it is so tempting. I really will be tempted in the end of round 1 if Cooper Kupp is sitting there. But I'm not going to do it. He's had 2 serious injuries in the last 4 years. He's 30. He's now 30, Cooper Kupp. And remember, another guy I've loved for years and I've owned for years, Keenan Allen. I said fade him last season because he hit 30, and look what happened. Mike Evans. He was 29 last year. He's 30 now. The injuries started to pile up. His numbers nosedive last year. Matthew Stafford's health is not a given. He's 1 concussion away from retirement. And then that would drag down Cooper Kupp. So you have to be careful of Tyreek Hill. You got to be careful of Cooper Kupp. Guys who are attached to shaky health quarterbacks. Okay, Stephon Diggs is Josh Allen never gets hurt. So you're good with Stephon Diggs. You're good with Calvin Ridley with Trevor Lawrence, all right? So investing in those guys is not as scary as far as investing in a Cooper Kupp, all right, or investing in a, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. So that's the issue I have there. So I'm going to chase Kupp, Hill, or Devontae Adams. All right. I do like Diggs a lot. So if I'm in that end of round 1, I'm a Diggs guy for sure. Round 2, you all know I love Garrett Wilson. I am drafting Garrett Wilson in the 2nd round if he's there. No questions asked. All right. CeeDee Lamb, he's going to be right at the end of round 1 as well. Tough choice. If you're in that 12th spot and Diggs and Lamb are there, you could take both of them. And I'm good with that. All right. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not putting him ahead of Wilson, Lamb, or Diggs. Okay. So right now I have it Jefferson, Chase, Diggs, Wilson, Lamb, St. Brown, and then I'm going Ridley. Listen, Calvin Ridley caught a lot of touchdowns with Atlanta. He did a lot of big things. I'm big on Ridley for sure. Pitts in the 8th round. Wow. Yeah, he really dropped. I did a video on Pitts this morning. I'm not going to chase him. Zay Flowers, I do like a lot. Yes, I'll get to Zay Flowers. Jalen Waddle, I think I would take him over Hill because of the value. The problem with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett is they're all and Jackson Smith, they're all going to siphon looks off of each other now. So that scares me a little bit. I think Amari Cooper has seen his better days. T. Higgins I had last year. I didn't love him. I love Chris Olave. Chris Olave is right there. In fact, I like Olave more than Ridley. Let me put Ridley up behind Olave. So I have St. Brown, Olave, Ridley. Keenan Allen, I'm done. Deebo Samuel, I'm not touching Deebo Samuel. Terry McLaurin, would love him anywhere else but Washington. DJ Moore is interesting. I'll put Moore down. I'm fine with DJ Moore. The guy's productive. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, nope, because of the quarterback situation. DeAndre Hopkins, no. Michael Pittman, hell no. Mike Williams, yes. So if you're in a PPR league, a lot of times I chase a lot of these high catch guys like a Keenan Allen that don't catch a lot of touchdowns. And then I look back on them like, you know what? I should have made sure I had more touchdowns. Maybe give away some of those catches in return for touchdowns. And that's why I'm interested in Mike Williams this year, because he's going to catch a lot of touchdowns. So I'm good with having Mike Williams at a decent cost this year. Deontay Johnson, I don't want any part of that Pittsburgh offense. I do not want that. Jefferson, St. Brown, that's a great start right there. Treylon Burks, nope. I don't want the Tennessee offense. Christian Watson, who knows about Jordan Love? We don't know what Jordan Love is, so I'm not going to chase him. Brandon Ayuk, I don't want this 49ers passing attack. Drake London, did a video on that today. Nope. Christian Kirk, he's a nice player, but I want Ridley. Jordan Addison, I like Zay Flowers of all the rookies. So Zay Flowers is the rookie I like the most. Marquise Brown, I'm not going to ignore Marquise Brown because eventually Kyler Murray is going to come back. And listen, they peppered him with a lot of targets. Jerry Jeudy, I would draft. I think that Sean Payne's going to do a lot of nice things there. Jahan Dotson, nope. Gabe Davis, no. Kadarius Toney, no. Sky Moore, yes. And listen, I got to do this again. If I don't get Chris Olave, I would take Michael Thomas. I'm going to do it again. I think it's going to be a very cheap cost. In the brief span that he was healthy last season, he played well. So I'm going to try it again with Thomas. Cortland Sutton, no. I think he's fading quickly. I think he's going to take the Allen Robinson path this year, talking about Cortland Sutton. Brandon Cooks, Jacoby Myers, no. Beckham, no. Smith-Schuster, no. DJ Chark, no. So, all right, we're pretty much done here. Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers is the last guy. Bateman, no. Yeah, so that's how I look at that there. So my receivers, my wide receiver ones are Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I want one of those guys as my wide receiver one, either the first or second round. I'm getting one of those guys. Then my wide receiver twos, who could be ones, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore. And then from there, wide receiver 2-3s, Mike Williams, Zay Flowers, Marquise Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Sky Moore, and Michael Thomas. And you know what? Like Nico Collins, I'll put Nico Collins in there because I think he could be the number one guy there for the Houston Texans. And Isaiah Hodgins for the Giants did some nice things. So I'll keep Isaiah Hodgins on there as well. All right. Last but not least, the tight ends. So tight ends, this is very short and sweet. Travis Kelce is the guy, round one. I want him. If I don't get him, I'll probably wait for Darren Waller. I know he's been injured the last couple of years, but I love him. I'm going to probably look at Darren Waller. I like Dalton Schultz. I think that the kid, CJ Stroud, is really going to target Dalton Schultz a lot. I think Pat Freiermuth is always – I know I said I don't want anybody on the Steelers, but Freiermuth might be the exception because he puts up decent numbers. I do like Ingram, but I think there's a lot of mouths to feed all of a sudden there. And that's really that's pretty much it. Juwan Johnson is mildly interesting. I think Taysom Hill is not going to have the numbers that he had last year. Zach Ertz is coming back. I could look at him. So really it's just Kelce, Waller, Schultz, those three guys I like. Could I take the cheapest one out of Kittle? Hawkinson and Mark Andrews, it's possible. But I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to go crazy with that second tier of tight end either. Let me see something here. Hawkinson, yeah. So Hawkinson, Kittle, Goddard. There's a lot of mouths to feed. So that's where I'm at with those guys. So, but anyway, all right, guys. So I'm going to end the stream here. It was a good, nice 40-minute stream. I appreciate the support. Hit that subscribe button. More videos coming tomorrow. Get the draft guide if you don't have it. We will all chat soon. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll chat soon. Take care.